Hi everyone and welcome. In this video I have a stator from a Yamaha RXS100 and in this video I want to just show you how this works and how it's configured. So a lot of people want to do a conversion, a 12 volt conversion, and this video is not about that. It's just about how it works and how this is configured. That's all it is. So to start with, how does this thing actually work? So I've been doing quite a lot of research, and to be honest, there's no description that I can find on the whole of the internet about this bike. And the wiring diagram that I found, although it's very close, it doesn't match my bike perfectly. And what's more, it doesn't actually show the stator in the wiring diagram. And for anyone who did want to do a conversion, you wouldn't necessarily know how it worked, so you could fully understand it. You just have to blindly follow some sort of tutorial, which may have, unexpected consequences. Not that it would go wrong, but you wouldn't really know because you don't know how it works. So I set out to find out exactly how this worked, and I'll show you now. So to start with, what's quite important to understand is, what's the purpose of it? So I'll show you. Basically, there are 3 coils. So if you get a wire like this, and we have an anode and a cathode, if you were to run some current through this wire, although you can't see it, there's a magnetic flux that runs over the wire. It's only tiny, but there's a magnetic flux, electromagnetic force that runs through. Whenever there's current, there's an electromagnetic force. Now, if you were to get that wire, the same wire, and you were to coil it, or let's say we make it a little bit longer or whatever, it doesn't really matter. If you were to coil it, what happens is these fluxes are still here, but they're intensified. And what ends up happening is because it's so close together, the flux gets intensified quite a lot. And you could go a step further and put some sort of ferrite material, a core, in the middle there, and that enhances it even more, right? So far, we've got a piece of wire, we've coiled it, so what? It induces, it has some sort of electromagnetic force, so what? Now, so the thing is, when you flow current through here, it kind of stores energy in this flux here. And when you stop supplying the current, basically this thing collapses and it gets converted back into electricity and it flows through. So it kind of stores energy in a way. Anyway, we're going into inductors and stuff like that, and that's what this video is not about that. But look at this. Say you have your coil here, and you don't supply any electricity. So it's just let's say it's just an empty circuit with no power, no voltage. And let's say that you get a magnet, and you pass the magnet across the coil. What you'll actually get is a little blip of energy. Electricity. If you pass the coil faster, you get a few blips. You get this sort of thing. If you do it over time, you get waves of electricity, and if you do it faster, then they get more frequent, and so on. So yeah, so it works one way. Pass current through the wire, and it makes an electromagnetic force. And if you get a dead circuit, let's say, and pass a magnet across the coil, then the voltage gets created and it flows through the circuit the other way. So it's kind of a two-way thing. There's always this weird relationship between electricity and magnetism. I don't think anyone fully understands it even now, but there you go. We know that happens. So in a nutshell, you get a coil, a closed circuit, you pass a magnet across it quickly, and it creates a voltage, which can be used to power things or to charge batteries or whatever else. And that's what's happening here. So we've got 3 of these coils. So what we have here, we have a pulsar coil, which goes to, this is a red and white one here. That's the pulsar. It goes to the CDI unit. We've got this one here, the black and the red one. This is, I believe this is the power for the CDI unit, although I haven't opened it, so I don't know for sure. But we've got those 2 there, the pulsar and the power CDI, I believe they are. So there's the pulsar, and there's the power. So we've got the 2 coils there, And basically what this does, the CDI determines when to fire the spark, basically, and this coil helps to do that as well. That powers CDI, that's the timing, pretty much. So what we're left with is this coil here, and this is the most difficult coil. As you can see, it's bigger, and this one is not so straightforward. So we've actually got some wires here, and before I go into this coil, I'll show you this. The black wire is easy. That's the ground wire. So everywhere in ground pretty much gets tied to the minus of the battery or the cathode, and that's used to complete circuits. The soft blue wire, which is broken on this, is the neutral switch. So there's a little ball that pushes into a switch, and then it completes the circuit that way, and basically that turns the neutral light on. So we've done those two. So we've done those two, the white and red, we've done the black and red, we've done the soft blue and the black. There are two wires left. We've got a yellow wire and we've got a green and red wire. So there are two wires that we need to find out what they are, and they're indeed related to this coil. Now, there's some stuff on the internet that says how it works, but you shouldn't really necessarily believe it without testing it out. So I've tested it out, and I'm going to show you how I know what this coil is. So it's quite obvious that in this coil there's either two coils or there's one coil with a centre tap. It doesn't really matter which one you believe, but there are two coils. Well, there's a centre tap. Now, I'm going to show you how I know this. So to start with, as you can see here with the other coils, we've got the pulsar, which goes the red and white, and we've got the black wire here, which is the cathode, which goes to ground. And straight away from the pulsar you can see that it's tied to the body of this stator. Therefore the body is also ground, so anything that's connected to this stator body is ground. So you can see what's going on here. Now, so also you can see that over here, this one, which I believe powers the CDI, is connected here. One end of the coil is connected to this, which is connected to this. Now all of the bodies of these coils, I can't remember what they're called at the moment, cores I think, all of the cores are grounded. So you can see here that this is screwed to this and this is grounded, so therefore the body's grounded, and that's the same on all of these. Now what you can see here is the negative side of this coil is also grounded, because you can see it's connected directly to the core here. So we know that these two wires here are ground wires, in other words the end of a coil. And for that reason, you can see a black wire that goes there. That's the end of the coil. So that's the end of a coil. Now, the other end of the coil, you can guess, is either the yellow one or the red one here. Now I'm going to tell you that it's a red one. The reason for that is because you can see here that this appears to be a centre tap. So the red one is actually, well, you can't see it under there because it's enamelled wire. But the red one, if I just take this away here, if this pen will let me, it's a green and red, you see? Green and red wire. So if we go back over here, the green and red wire is one end of the coil, and the black is the other end of the coil. Yellow appears to be a centre tap. Now, I'm going to prove that now. So if I just, so what you can see here is that I've actually separated what I believed was the centre tap. And the reason why I've separated it is because if you don't separate it, you can't really tell. Unless you've got something like a micro ohm meter, you can't really tell. Because if you were to put the ohm meter on there, you know, wherever you measure it to, whether you measure it to ground or this green and red one, you're going to get continuity because they're all connected. It's the same coil. Anyway, so they're split. I'm going to get my multimeter and then we'll put it on ohms. So we're looking for continuity now. Is this better with this on? I guess it probably is. Change the range. We want ohms now. So I'm going to go from the red and green wire. Now what I expect here is that it's going to go through this red sheath here, which I know it does. Now it's got to come out somewhere. Now it's not going to, I don't expect it to come out on the ground, because if it did, then that's the end of the coil and this would be useless because you wouldn't have a coil with both ends touching each other. It'd be a waste of time. So put it on here. I don't expect to get continuity, and I don't. So the other end of this wire here is not ground. So it's got to be one of these two wires. It's not that one, because obviously that goes to the motorbike. It's got to be one of these. Let's test this one. No. Let's test this one. Yes, it's that one. So what's happening here is we go from the red and green wire, we go through the coil, and we come out here. That's the end of the first coil, or you could say the first half of the coil, whatever you want to believe. And then what happens there is that after going through the coil, it gets center tapped or connected to this one, and then where does this one come out? Well, you can pretty much guess that that's going to be ground. So I'll connect that there, and then I expect that it's going to go to ground. Yes, it goes to ground. Right, so we've got the coil in, the coil comes out here, it goes to this one, and then through another coil back to ground. So this indeed is either one coil the center tap or two coils, depending on what you want to believe. But basically, that's how it works. So you'd have 0 voltage this side, you'd have probably 12 volts or probably more on this side, and this you probably would expect, depending on how they've configured it, that this would be half of the voltage. So, you know, we'll see. But basically that's the configuration of this stator. That's how it works. So what I'm going to do now is solder it back up, and I'll do another video soon. So I hope this has been helpful. I mean, I certainly think it is, because I've not seen any teardown videos on this particular stator. I've not seen any wiring diagrams for it either. So hopefully you find this useful. But there's confirmation anyway. It is a coil with a center tap. So the yellow one is the midpoint. Okay.